An unprecedented new consciousness is transforming the entire human species. A new world is being born. The old world is disintegrating. Both worlds now call to you. Do you want to live in gratitude, patience, contentment, and awe of the universe? Or in anger, worry, overwhelm, and despair? This podcast will help you choose joyfully and effectively. Welcome.
We're going to talk a little bit more about multisensory perception. So, beloved, I was wondering if you had anything particular to say about it.
Multisensory perception can take many forms. For example, I was talking to someone at one time. That person used the words personality and soul. And something happened in me in that moment. I knew something happened, something shifted in me. But that makes it sound dramatic, as though, something shifted, but it was something happened. And then I forgot about it, but not for long. Within a year or so, I found myself being more and more focused on those words. And now, 3 decades later, they're with me all the time. So that was a multisensory perception. Why is it that of the thousands of words that I exchanged with people that year, that month, maybe that day, those two spring into my heart or awaken something in my heart? That's a multisensory perception.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was thinking, when I met Gary, we were at a retreat, and some of you know the story. We met at a retreat that Gary was participating in. He was going to be speaking. It was a week-long retreat, but he was going to be speaking for 1 hour during that retreat. I was participating in the retreat. I didn't know Gary was going to be there, but I had read both of his books, The Dancing Lily Masters and The Seat of a Soul, that were both, and especially The Seat of a Soul, was so impactful to me. So I was really surprised that he was going to be at the retreat. As the retreat went on that week, I kept being put next to Gary, sitting next to him. Someone would save me a seat, and then someone would save him a seat right next to me at a concert or different things that were happening at this event. And I knew something was going on. I knew immediately that I was being connected with him, but I didn't know why. And I also knew, because of my multisensory perception, my intuition, that he was afraid to be in a relationship. So I knew many things about him, actually, that he didn't talk about, and no one told me. I just knew. But one day, I was walking on a path by a creek at this retreat center, which was very rustic, near Mount Shasta. And I was walking on the path, and I heard this voice. No one was there. It was early in the morning. I was barefoot. I'd been fasting all week, and I was just walking and just enjoying being there. And I heard this voice say, "He's the one. He is the one. He's the one." 3 times. And I'd never heard anything like that. I don't usually, my intuition doesn't usually come in the form of words like that. I know things. There are many other ways that it comes, but not usually that way. And I knew it had to do with Gary. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on, but it was such a powerful multisensory perception and intuition that I had. And I think I could say that whole retreat was about that for me when I was at it. But that was just one thing that I was thinking about, one of the things that happened for me. And that was, definitely an expansion beyond what I was normally,
yes.
noticing about people or anything. Before I'd had other experiences, but I didn't recognize them as intuition or multisensory perception. I thought, well, I have a good intuition, but I didn't really understand that it was that I was being supported.
Beloved, would you mind, if we have the time, telling the story that you told me when you were taking care of an infant? A neonate, in fact, younger than an infant, a neonate.
Oh, you mean Sarah Rose?
I mean Sarah Rose.
Oh.
Yes. I think you're going to like this story. This amazed me when I heard it.
Thanks for asking about that. I I'd read The Seed of the Soul. I had just read it. I was working as a nurse, a home health care nurse, and waiting for my chiropractic license at the time. And so I took this job to take care of this little baby, and she was 3.5 months old when I met her, and she'd just gotten out of the hospital. She was born, and they kept her there for the 3.5 months. It was as if she didn't have connection with any of her 5 senses. As far as she couldn't see, she couldn't hear, she couldn't feed herself. They had a feeding tube. As far as I know, she didn't feel, touch, or anything. And it was just such an interesting experience to be with her. I was one of the team of nurses who took care of her 24 hours a day. So I would take 12-hour shifts, and I would be with Sarah. When she was about a year old, her parents decided they were going to put her in a place where drowning victims who were in a coma stayed. They did that, and I kept seeing her. The nurses and I would go up and see her every once in a while. And then what happened is I was getting ready to go see her one week, and I had this dream, and I'd had many dreams about Sarah. This one was very unusual because when I saw her, she was in a crib, and she was smiling at me. I mean, just smiling delightedly. And then there were 2 people that were near her. And so I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Sarah's never smiled ever in life, for sure. She didn't. And so I wrote it in my journal, my dream journal, and then I went off to do what I was doing. And I came home, and on my answering machine was a message from her mom saying that she had passed on that morning. And I thought, oh, of course, she came to let me know she was fine. It was just so beautiful because I had such a connection with her. There were many stories I could tell you about connections with her, but she let me know that she was perfectly fine. She came here for a reason, and she left when she was ready to leave, and that's the way it was. And so I didn't look at her at anything that was happening as a tragedy. And it was because I'd read The Seed of the Soul, and I realized, oh no, this is just what was supposed to be happening. It was a very powerful experience for me.
Beloved, I just realized now, after all the times I've heard this story, and it touches me every time, I just saw that Sarah Rose was not 5 sensory. She had none of her 5 senses.
No.
Isn't that interesting?
No.
She couldn't see or taste or touch or hear or smell. So,
I want to tell you, though, the one time when I had a shared experience with Sarah, I was in a car with her. Her dad was driving, and I was in the back seat. We were taking her to a OT appointment or something. And, of course, it wasn't going to help. And so her dad's listening to something on the radio, and I'm in the back seat with Sarah, and I'm hearing angels singing. And I thought, oh, Sarah, you're sharing this with me. This is what you're experiencing. And I don't usually experience it. How beautiful. And I was just so excited to have that shared experience with her because I knew that she was aware in a very different way than we are when we're in the Earth School, the way that most of us are. So she taught me a lot about multisensory perception.
Yes, and the universe is continually not teaching us about multisensory perception, but immersing us in it. So it's a matter of recognizing what is in your life. Join me next time to explore the epic transformation of human consciousness that is reshaping our species and your part in it. It may surprise you. I'm Gary Zukav.